Sehr gut. Sehr gut.
I'm a time traveler from the year 2025, and I've come here to kill you, Hitler.
Oh, not again. I'm never gonna have enough time to finish these paintings with all of these time travelers trying to kill me.
Well, I'm going to succeed.
Before you pull the trigger, can I just ask why? Why do all of you people want to kill me?
Isn't it obvious? I'm a progressive, a liberal, a fighter for social justice. And you are a fascist who implemented a reign of terror. And while the effects of your policies devastated the world for decades, soon we will be able to take back the White House, and we will be able to use the government to force people to follow our great ideas.
You want to use government power to force your ideas on the populace. Me too! That's fantastic!
What? No. Ugh. You and I have nothing in common. What I'm saying is there are people in our time with dangerous ideas, and we need to silence them.
Silencing those who disagree with you. I do that too! Oh, wunderbar! Oh, the Nazi movement will not die with me.
Don't give me that! I'm enlightened, and you're as bad as... well, as Hitler. Listen, what I'm trying to say is we are very close to implementing a utopia, as long as we can get rid of some certain undesirable people groups.
Yes, like the Jews.
Yes, like the Jews. Oh.
So, in the future,
Oh.
you also do not like the Jews?
Well, no. But we don't believe in segregating all the races like you do. I mean, except for, like, graduation ceremonies. In dorms. And hiring practices. Oh, and admissions policies. That sort of thing.
I, too, am a fan of the segregation. I'm sorry, I have to ask, is this a real firearm, or is this some kind of toy for kids?
It's a flare gun. I'm trying not to support America's toxic gun culture. I'm a firm believer in gun control.
Gun control! This was one of my ideas, too. Ban them from the undesirables. Yes, look here. Oh, and your shirt. This is an organization founded by Margaret Sanger. Yes?
Wait, you know about Margaret Sanger?
Jawohl, of course. Oh, she's such a lovely person.
No. She's a fighter for reproductive rights, for women's empowerment,
And the eradication of undesirable populations by means of eugenics. Brilliant lady, very inspiring. I must use some of her ideas in our socialized healthcare system.
Socialized healthcare? That's not your thing. That's our thing.
No, it's very much my thing. Did you know that Nazi means National Socialist German Workers' Party? Nazi is just more catchy. Nazi. Just rolls off the tongue.
No. This can't be true. This has to be some sort of mistake. We are nothing alike. You're Adolf Hitler, evil right-wing fascist dictator, and I'm a feminist restorative justice advocate. And a vegetarian.
You're a vegetarian? Me too!
Okay, I am so confused right now. I came here with a clear goal in mind to kill the most evil man who I've ever lived. Besides Ronald Reagan. But now that I'm meeting you in person, you're not at all what I thought you were. And your painting is actually really good. What do you call it?
I call it Ein Reich ohne Juden.
Wow. I don't know what that means, but it sounds beautiful.
It does, doesn't it?
Hey, folks, welcome to the program. Will you raise a finger, please, and share this? Today's a big program. You need to understand some things going on with our government, some successes, some losses, etc. But these are things you need to know. Raise your finger and share this program. Hey, before we start, we've got to give credit where credit is due. big shout out to Mike Lindell, right? Cause of America, Colonel Sean Smith, Altman, Clements, Dr. Frank, all of your work in the election arena, especially all of your visits to the state of Virginia, paid off. Now, people, you may not have been following this historic victory, but it belongs 100% to Mike Lindell and his various teams under different names, Cause of America, etc., that made sure the world knew it was the machines from 2020. Here's what happened in Virginia, just came down yesterday. If you look at all the districts in Virginia that were solid Democrat or heavily leaning Democrat, there used to be 7. Now there's 10, and there's only 1 remaining Republican district left. Yeah, Virginia has fallen. And they fell for the rhetoric that it was the machines, and we're going to melt them to prison bars, and it's a polynomial, bisexual, quadruple, fractal, pterodactyl. Well, Virginia pulled it off. How'd they pull it off? Well, interesting, and was the vote came in, they weren't counting any absentee ballots. Wait, that's paper. We don't talk about the paper. But incredibly, right at the last minute, 35,000 absentee ballots came in, and every one of them voted for the proposition. Here's what the machine didn't tell you and the paper did. Read this proposed constitutional amendment. Look at this. Question. This is what you're voting for. They posed it as a question versus a vote. Should the Constitution of Virginia be amended to allow General Assembly temporarily to adopt new congressional districts to restore fairness in the upcoming elections while ensuring Virginia's standard redistricting process resumes for all future redistricting after the 2030 census? Look at that. That's a poll. That's not a vote. But look how they worded it. This is their ballot on, I'm sorry, but you can't melt paper into prison bars. Question. Should the Constitution of Virginia be amended to allow the General Assembly to temporarily adopt new congressional districts to restore fairness in the upcoming elections while ensuring Virginia's standard redistricting process resumes for all future redistricting after 2030 census? Virginia has fallen. Oh, by the way, thanks to the GOP, who spent very little to fight this. Yeah, they're going to grab the guns. They've already showed the bill. There's no such thing as a temporary change. But here it is. They will now have 5 blue districts and 1, which is basically the Appalachian Mountains, one conservative area in the entire state. So shout out to all it's the machines. Well, I guess Serbia did this. Maybe Serbia or Venezuela printed this. So shout out to Mike Lindell. You own this. This is yours. Shout out to those who infiltrated Antifa. And it's the machines. And choir teachers who are mathematicians. You own this. You did hundreds of trips between all of your crew, going to Virginia, telling them it's the machine, it's the machines, it's the machines. There's nothing in the paper. The paper's a fraud. They have no ethics. That's a joke. And you personally gave the left Virginia. So congratulations. Your coup, your undermining, well, it's going just as planned. Isn't that exciting? For me, it pisses me off. This didn't have to happen. But I actually think, take a look at this. This was done by paper. They released 0 counts of early votes and where you could vote by mail because you just couldn't show up. They gave no counts the whole time. And then right at the end, boom, here comes the paper. There it is. Right there. Same little tiny razor thin margin. And they waited till everything was done. And oh, look, here comes the paper. This is owned by the election integrity efforts. You own this. This is owned by so-called patriots. Gonna fix America, gonna show you the PCAPs, gonna show you everything. Not the paper, that's stupid. That's a grift. Here it is. It's always been people, paper, and programs. And look at this bullshit. And there it is. This state fell. And by the way, when Virginia falls like this and they take away the guns, it sets the precedence for every other conservative state. By the way, today's program is brought to you by Goldco, the people that want to help you cover your ass and tell you the truth. And you're going to have to cover your ass. And if anybody comes up and tells you it's the machines that do it and run, if they wear a bow tie, fucking run. Folks, now's the time to protect your financial worth with gold and silver. Fill out the form. Go to the site. I do it with Goldco. That's why I partnered with them. You need to fill out the form and get informed. And here's the bottom line, folks. The misinformation in all of this stuff, they're pushing us to civil war. They need a civil war to get rid of guns. They did this before, we got an important election come up. It shouldn't have been done till 2030. They did this on purpose. But hey, who else told us about the census? Yeah, Dr. Frank figured out everything of how to get Tina Peters in prison because he looked at the 2010 census and 4 counties in Michigan and could tell what every single vote in the country was cast. And it was the machines, and it was from Venezuela and Serbia, and they partnered together, and we've got to melt them to prison bars. Another person who relied on census bullshit. I'm so livid. Because you know what? People don't listen. Here's the formula to make somebody believe bullshit. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Little truth, little truth, little truth, little truth, little truth. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Scripture, praise Jesus. Look at my cross. Let me tell you how good I am. Bullshit, 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 bullshit. Great stuff, great stuff, great, great. That's the formula. I'm convinced that's the formula. I am convinced that crap has been weaponized against us. I am so sorry for the people in Virginia. It's all the more reason that I tell you, you got to figure out how to protect yourself. It's all the more reason that I tell you, right? They know what they're doing. Even when you look at this, Obama, 69 million popular votes in his thing. Oh, and don't forget that Virginia says they're going to accept the popular vote, not their electors will only vote with the popular vote. They get to change it. Remember that. I told you I did that report. They changed their constitution to say that it doesn't matter what you vote in the state or what the people in the state say. If the popular vote's different, then the electors are forced to cast their vote with the popular vote. God bless you, Denise. God bless you, Denise, for all that. It all goes to election integrity. But this is the rigged, folks. And I'm so fed up from these people that came out of nowhere. This is where the states get sacrificed. Obama got 69 million his first time, 65 the second time. We even audited back to Obama, those idiots that went around on election integrity like Clements and his wife. How stupid going back to those numbers. Those are just public numbers. No, you do it to understand the trends. And we found out that Obama's vote then was crap. That's where they were testing this stuff. That's where they tested the Sharpie stuff. We told you. Hillary got 65 against Trump. Then we got that big FU with Biden. Then we got 68 with Kamala, Trump won, and now there's over 75 million votes for Kamala. Did they keep running the machines for 17 months and the polls open? We all push back as a nation against bullshit media and them playing us and them spending money to make us do things we don't want to do, all in the name of good of us. And it happened to us in 2020. And you know what we're going to do? We're not going to push back. We're just going to elect them to governors. We are so screwed. I don't think anything like this should be on the ballot. By the way, I think this is fraud myself. It should have named the constitutional amendment change, and it should show the two sides. Somebody would think they were answering a poll question. Have you ever fucking seen a ballot where who you vote for starts with a question? I think this alone is deception. Question: should the Constitution of Virginia be amended to allow Central Assembly to temporarily adopt new congressional districts to restore fairness in upcoming elections? Who would not vote for that? That's not a vote for what the issue was. That's a con job on the ballot. Let me say it again. On the paper. Let me say it again as you watch this story come out. It shows they did it with the paper. Anyway, thanks, Mike Lindell, Professor Clements, Dr. Frank, Lone Raccoon, Code Monkeys, Altman's, Cause of America. You did a good job of convincing America it was the machines. As you can tell, folks, I'm irritated. Here's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to let you reread this. My system's locked up. Give me a pause. Amazing how that happens. I cover some hard stuff, right? And all of a sudden, all the systems lock. Mark this down. Just mark this down. Every single lawmaker in Virginia, every single key district in Virginia was visited by Mike Lindell's crew that told them it's the machines. The ballots are a grift. Don't worry about that. You don't need to do the voter rolls. Where do these names come from? How were they even able to stick that in? Yeah, it's the voter rolls. And you were told it was all a fucking con. While they hoped the whole time you wouldn't look underneath. Anyway, don't blame it on the lawmakers. They clearly told us they were going to do it. You blame it on the ground efforts where it belonged that got everybody to look away from the fucking paper and the voting rolls. Yes, I'm sick of this crap. Now I'm going to show you when.
Rennie Good was a gifted soul, a writer and a poet and a mother, wow. She tried to hit an agent with her car, oh no! Pop, motherfucker, now she's gone! Yeah! Being a fucking liberal is a mental disease. Blue-haired fuckables with the septum ring. You are not a hero, you're a fucking disease! You fuck around and find out it's what it is! Jeffrey Pretty was a Jewish homo. Started talking shit to protect a show.
By the way, when you watch this about Virginia, this is a key one because you're now going to watch multiple states follow this plan before we get to the next presidential election. And here's the paper proof. And I think the paper itself is fraud of how they worded it. You don't do polling. You don't do polling on a ballot, right? But it's completely changed the face of the state to make it permanent blue, an undoable permanent blue, flooding in illegals, getting rid of guns. That is the actual goal. And I find this alarming, and I'm going to tell you why. Mike Lindell and crew, all of those people under different names, all funded by Mike Lindell, though, went in and told everybody it's the machines. That was all 100% deception. And even if they did stuff on machines, you can't prosecute on it. The rules are voluntary, but the ballots are not. But they specifically told you the Arizona audit was a grift. You can't tell anything by the ballots. And I'm going to give you the exact message, right? I'm sitting in President Trump's office going over this stuff. He knows, and that's why he's working on the rolls and the paper. The con was going big in his office, but all the people in his office were telling him this, which Mike Lindell and team funded.
So you have a centralized statewide voter roll that's on networked machines, servers. It has a public-facing internet interface. That's it. That's all I need to know that it's blown. That's a centralized statewide voter roll that was mandated by Help America Vote Act. They have these all over the country. And it's not just that you have a public-facing internet interface to it, but multiple organizations have what's called an API, or an application programming interface. In other words, a machine-to-machine interface into that voter roll. And I'm telling you this because when people say, well, we have to clean up the voter rolls, it's true that they're not following the law. It's true that they're not in good faith maintaining them in accordance with Title 52 that requires that the voter rolls be both secure and accurate. That's a requirement imposed on the secretaries of state who've received the Help America Voting Act and CARES Act funding to maintain those voting systems. What nobody's going to tell you, but I'm going to tell you, is you cannot clean those rolls. You're sweeping a dirt floor.
That is what Mike Lindell funded. When I am, normally you meet with the president 3, 4, 5 minutes maybe. If you're lucky, that's a big meeting. Not in his office, not half on your side, half on his side going through. It's 96 minutes. And from over the shoulder, the people listening said, well, we're told not to mess with the voter rolls because they'll just add them back in. Here's why. Here's why. All of it is on the voter rolls. If you don't get rid of the voter rolls and clean them up, you don't get rid of anything. And here it is. Watch this in Virginia. Fate has been set that might trigger two things: civil war, they need it, and getting our guns. I just want you to understand it. We have a win in this that is nowhere near as big as a loss we just suffered at the hands of Mike Lindell and team. But we're going to talk about that win, okay? And that win is Kash crashes the law center. And then I want to have a very frank discussion about, has your definition of a patriot changed? Be right back.
Warning. The following program has been rated Dilligaff and is intended for open-minded audiences. If the truth offends you, or if you are allergic to focused intensity, intellectual athleticism, or the occasional F-bomb or even irreverent humor, please switch off now. If your delicate sensibilities need to be worried about or addressed, might we recommend the Underwater Basket Weaving channel to you? Otherwise, sit back, enjoy the wisdom, insight, and wicked sense of humor.
Cut the crap. How many times a day do you want to say that to politicians? The elite, the loony liberals, the fake news media. In the gender-confused, emotional socialist snowflake crowd, cut the crap is your secret weapon for fighting for our freedoms and our great republic. It all begins with a massive mental enema, freeing you from the toxic news and politically correct views, which constipate your consciousness with stinking thinking. Your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. He's known for calling out politicians and telling them to cut the crap. You've seen him on virtually every television network and listened to him on Coast to Coast Radio. And now he's here to help you learn to fight for America. Culture, race, and American politics. They all have one thing in common. They all need to cut the crap. Now, here's your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer.
Okay, folks. Welcome to the meat of the program that Kash crashes the law center. And I want to have a very candid discussion with you about what is the definition of a patriot. Let me grab something here. By the way, for this program, I'm going to put it in chat real quick across the channels. Y'all can share it with each other. I did post the indictment, which we're about to talk about. Let me see where I got it. Hang on. I did post the indictment. On Locals. So you can download the 14-page indictment for yourself. If you want to take a look at this indictment that I'm going to talk about, I'm sharing it across all the channels right now. And this is a good thing. And this is another I told you so, which will help you understand just the fraud and psychological warfare that we're all under. By the way, happy birthday, kitty lover. Right? I normally know you watch the program with me in the shower, and I get to shower with you every morning, and I appreciate it. I hope you're being careful, but wow, God bless you. I know it's your birthday. Happy birthday. And thank you for donating that to keeping these archives alive that shows everything that happened to 100% to paper. And the systems kept you away from it. God bless you for every one of you that do that. Because this is all it's about. The real evidence, the fraud. That's why you can see President Trump going against the grain with all these guys at politics, it's the machines. And basically said, screw it, turn in these voter rolls. Let's look at them and see what's done. Get rid of these mail-in ballots. Why? Because he knows the numbers. Look. There are a lot of people out there you trust that are saying it's Venezuela, it's Serbia, it's China. You know what? That's okay. Let me tell you why that's okay. I said this in my program on Islam on Locals yesterday. I want to tell you something about me that you need to understand. I don't care about your religion. I don't care about your sexual orientation. I really don't even care if you're a Republican, Democrat, Independent, Greenie Media, whatever. I don't give a shit. Let me tell you why. It's none of my business. And when you realize that God gave us all free will, that's a power that came from God. You make up your own damn mind. I'm not going to force mine on you and say you got to take it, because then I'm superseding what God gave you naturally. I don't have that power. I'm not the Pope. So I'm not going to tell you you're wrong because you're not a Christian. You don't say Jesus enough. How freaking egotistical is that? But let me point something else out. When you do that to people, you know you're doing the same thing that BLM does. You're doing the same thing that Islam does. You're wrong convert. You're horrible. That's crap. We have given by God free will. All I try to do is help you understand the facts. See, we're not entitled to our own facts. Facts are facts. But you are entitled to your free will. There's a lot of people out there that'll talk about Serbia and China and Venezuela and CIA whistleblowers and this and that. My fact is very simple. You can't prosecute anything that happened in America based on some software that came out of a different country or what they did there. You can't prosecute on it. Secondly, all the rules regarding the equipment are voluntary. But there's one thing that's not voluntary. It's that freaking ballot. That's a felony if you fuck with it. So I stick to facts, but you have free will to believe what you want. Does it mean I don't like somebody because they're going to keep on promoting the Serbia thing or the Germany thing or the Italian thing or any of that? No. None of them can prove it. None of them can show you what it is. But see, this is how the system, in my book, my opinion, they play safe. They want it to look like they're fighting great things, but they know nothing can be changed if you stay within the machines. And so, you know what? I don't waste my time with that. That's why I always show you the paper. But it does not mean I am forcing you to believe anything. And if you like somebody just because they've done wonderful things and they tell you it's a machine or Serbia or whatever place may be, if you want to believe them, you have that right. You have that right. God gave you that right on everything. It's called free will. And I'm smart enough to know only one thing will set you free, and that's the truth. That's why they say truth sets you free. And by the way, the only thing that equals truth is proof. Absolute proof, not words. You can be told all day long, they switched the votes, it's this, I saw it on TV. Those are just freaking words. You got to see, here it is. It was all a lie. Let me show you. And this is what the paper says, not what we say. And so I just equate truth is always backed by proof. And I am so mournful of what just happened in Virginia, of what this said. Now, we've had some success. We've had some incredible success. You probably just heard of this, right? But to wash your palate of my rant, I want to show you what it means to be intellectually honest. I want to show you a rock star.
Who I am? I am a guy who wants to be famous on the internet talking about politicians? No, I don't think I'm qualified enough. I'm just a fisherman. I'm a guy who come here with $100 on the pockets, couple t-shirts on the backpack, and I went every single step to become American citizen. Who I'm proud because I know how good is this place. I'm a guy who live in Europe, who live in South America, and everywhere I went, everybody wants to come and live in America. Everybody want to be here. And then you who born here, you who grow up here, you listen these Democrat leaders who tell you to be ashamed of this place, to not be proud of be America. Let me tell you something. If any politician tell you that, he should be fired. He should be removed from office because you should be proud of to born here. You should be proud to be American citizen because that's the best nation in the world. And if any reason, anybody make you think in a different way, you should remove that person from your life. You should not vote for that person, but you should vote for anybody who wants to make this land the best nation in the world and who wants to make America great. That's the person you want to be in office, not a person who is ashamed to be American.
I can relate to that because I myself am a first-generation American. From German immigrants, have one side of the family been here a long time, not mine. Fled out of Nazi Germany, got to the United States. All of the guys, ironically, went into the Marine Corps, ended up running all the training for the bases in San Diego for the Marines, gave their entire life to the Marines. My aunts, uncles, all served. My one aunt got kicked out because she went in when she was 15 and lied. They caught her, but not till after a few years. That's an American right there. There's a patriot. Right there. I'd love to meet that man because that's exactly what our country stands for. And that's exactly a truth bond. He's telling you, here it is, my bond. I am an American, damn it, and I did it the right way. And it didn't matter. I was a fisherman coming with the 2 T-shirts and a backpack and $100 in my pocket. I made it work. I did it right. I am an American. You cannot take that away from me. I just wanted you to see that because it helps you recognize the con we're under. And it's all psychological warfare in that con. White supremacy. Here's one of the cons you probably remember. Do you remember the? I'm slobbering this morning. I'm salivating rabid over this Virginia stuff. Do you remember those guys? Patriot farce. Do you remember them? Let me give you a little backstory that's finally coming out. You ready, baby?
What we're here today is to announce what the general just told you. The Southern Poverty Law Center, in a massive sweeping indictment, has been charged with allegations of fraud and using the banking system to perpetrate that fraud. I just wanted to...
Let me set this up for you so you understand what's going on. The Southern Poverty Law Center has been found to be the one funding these things. They set up all kinds of different corporate identities. The people, we got to save you against racism. We got to save you against suppression. It was racism in Charlottesville. They paid actors to do it. Actors and bad actors. Their money under the guise of protecting America against this stuff that's supposedly going on, they created, ran it through different corporations, funded people to do those things so they can say, look, Nazis in America, here's the money. They've been caught. And this is only the tip of the iceberg. I shared with you the link. I gave you the indictment right after this program. I'm going to hop over to my locals. If you're on Rumble, you'll hit the red button to join. And I'm going to read the indictment to you. Here it is very simply. You know, like South Carolina and stuff, or all this other crap, and the Nazis were there. It was staged and paid. Southern Poverty Law Center, supposed to be fighting for civil rights and stuff, to be relevant, paid actors to do it. Now, let me tell you how this works, because I learned this the hard way. Back in 1999, I built my tech company. It had already been going for a while, but in 1999, it became like the mega hit, right? Back then, it was unheard of for 1 million people to hit a web page. I could talk about it in my program and do it and send 1 million people in. It was just, we were riding the super high of getting people to use the net and learn how to do it. And then one day, in the midst of when all press is writing about my company and or me as the next Bill Gates, whiz kid, blah, blah, blah shit, we had a breach. Now, at that time, the organization was called the Electronic Frontier Freedom Foundation, protecting people's information on the internet, because the internet's going to steal your information. Well, and this is all about when we're getting ready to scan and everything else, teaching, we're about to launch that every type of barcode, it didn't matter if it was the QR code or an ISBN on a record tape or album or anything like that, or on a product, that all of a sudden you could just, and you're there, right? And so everybody's talking about our company. By the way, Mr. Hader, thank you so very much. It's all about truth, because the only truth is the truth that can be backed with absolute proof. But let me tell you how this works. And I got to give you a scale here so you understand. It took Facebook 5 years to get 1 million users. 5 years. It took like, I don't know, 7 years or something. I'm just remembering these numbers off the top of my head to get people to use mobile phones or whatever. And so here this dork comes, and I know no different. And I don't take no for an answer. We didn't call them apps then. They were just basically a browser extension you would download and would load into your browser. It hadn't officially been called apps yet. But where you had big things, it would take companies and or what eventually also became apps 3, 4, 5 years to get to 1 million users. Let me see if I can get those numbers. Hang on. I want you to have the accurate numbers because you have to understand. Because I'm going to explain to you how this works. Because you got to understand, because I'm going to show you how the money racket works on this. Oh, damn it. I got to get my eyeballs on. I can't see. Hang on. Okay. Let me see if I can find the numbers. Okay, here you go. Ready? It took, when Kickstarter started, for it to get 1 million users, it took 30 months. Tumblr, we're talking modern ones. Tumblr, it took 27 months. Twitter, it took 2 years to get 1 million users. Foursquare, it took 1 million users, 13 months. Facebook, 1 million users, 10 months. Instagram, 1 million users was about 3 months. But before that, I hit 1 million users in 30 days. 2.4 million users in 60 days. So you can imagine, and I want you to understand this, because I put out that free device and I'm letting you now use code. So I straddled the phone. I was not only an app, which was called CRQ, the letter C, the letter R, the letter Q, C, our Q. That's where all this Q stuff comes from, right? But when you think about the device that I had to give away, was never sold, wasn't a failure, was a giveaway. You just got it for free. You walked into Radio Shack and give it. Let me give you the device. It's called peripheral telemetry. So you'll understand how long it took, forget software, but how long it took devices to get used. It took 25 years just to get to 10% of the market, to use something. So to get 10% of the people in the United States to use telephones took 10 years. To get 10% of the United States to use electricity, it took 30 years. To get 10% of the United States to use radio, it took 7 years. To get 10% of the United States to use television took 11 years. To get 10% of the United States to use computers, it took 9 years. To get 10% of the United States to use mobile phones, it took 11 years. To get 10% of the United States to use the internet took 9 years. To get 10% of the United States to swap from that mobile phone and go to a smartphone, if you remember that terminology, meaning a new device, that took 7 years. My device, which basically gave the computer eyes and then bridged till you get to mobile phones, for me to get 10% of the population using it, 10% of the connected population to use it, 30 days. So you can imagine the type of press my company's getting, breaking every record. Well, to understand the Southern poverty law racket, you got to understand how that racket with donations and foundations work. I've always told you this. I told you this the other day. Christendom does not need Islam. But see, Islam needs Christendom and Jews because they got to have somebody to hate on to get people to convert to Islam. So there's this kind of dependent symbiotic crap in this stuff. Now, with that said, one day I come into the office. I'm used to my phone lines being lit up. I'd probably do 3 major magazine interviews or newspaper interviews a day, sometimes 20 a day, radio interviews, television interviews, you name it. All of a sudden, here's all this press, boom. And it's about, we've had a security breach. Now, this is where all those numbers come into play. You got to understand, we were the fucking juggernaut of everything, changed the entire scope of how fast people adopt both hardware and software. What had happened is when you get all that press, you become a target. And so the bad actors are waiting for you to make a mistake, or they're going to try to take something you said and turn it into a mistake. Well, one of our coding guys is testing on a isolated machine, testing the software that interfaced with scanning. What you don't understand is from all that scanning stuff, here's what also came that you now use today: the shopping cart, the ability to remember who you are, where it needs to ship, and which credit card you use, which is standard today. That's my patent. I basically knew that when you get the software interface in between, you could permanently remember these people, and you should make it easier for people not to continue to enter in their information every damn time. My patents. And so what we're doing is we're testing the ability for the software to understand who you are at any time, what you like, what you don't like. You know them as cookies now. What you like, what you don't know, all this other stuff, and we're testing it. And so we have about 100 names. We'll just call it 1,000 names, be easy, on a machine. And the job was for the testing person, they're just testing, going to different sites, but seeing if the back end could keep up with everything that the person's doing to make the experience easier. It was all about, remember, we had to do really long URLs. Remember that GeoCity shit that used to be? You know, people had GeoCity addresses instead of their own URLs. And so I'm saying we're making it too hard to use the internet. It's got to be just invisible and easy, specifically when it comes to shopping or whatever, that you don't want to keep on entering in your cart. And if you choose to have it remembered, it can be remembered and be secure. So we're basically forging a new generation of remembering who you are on the net. Yes, your user profile, your UID, your user ID. Now it's just the norm. Back then it just didn't happen. Even to the point where, if you remember on your phones, when you finally got a smartphone, if you look at a website, it was all broken and you had to slide, even to the point of teaching the server that when the request comes, what type of device is it coming from? Is it coming from a desktop? Is it a wide screen? Is it a narrow screen? Is it a small screen? Is it one of these new things called a smartphone, and it automatically adjusts? Remember when websites wouldn't do that? That's my patent also. We got to remember these things to make it easy. So we have this little machine sitting out there. It has nothing to do with business. It's just testing software. Well, one of the testing people that was testing it basically left their machine on. Now, this applies to elections. That machine technically is not connected to the internet, just like voting machines. But if you can get into the company's LAN or WAN, you can see what machines are on. You could come through the back door, find the machine that was on, and then you could look at the machine. Well, when you get big, they're trolling you nonstop. And somebody found that one machine. So that one machine that we'll say had anywhere between 100 names on it and 1,000 names on it, they went in, said, oh, it's here. They pulled down the information, and the next day we become a news story. Why? Because the electronic Frontier Freedom Foundation paid people to find things like this. And then all of a sudden, when we're the biggest, best, and badass, the news becomes about your information's been hacked. See, we told you this was a danger. And so the story became about my company and your information is going to get hacked. So instead of spending time evangelizing, your life's going to change, and here's how you use the net for better, and you're just going to zap a code and go, right? CRQ. I'm on TV, every program you can imagine, having to say it wasn't a hack and it wasn't a security breach. Let me tell you what it was. But that's not what mattered. And so I learned the very hard way that in order for those nonprofits to raise money, they've got to have a bad guy. You can't raise money without a bad guy. And so I became the poster child of the bad guy. Your information got leaked, and it never was a leak. Every time I was on, they were on. And what were they doing? It's just kind of like my appeal. Donate to the fund right now, and we'll save you against this stuff. We'll save you against this stuff. And they raised tons of money on it by exploiting something that wasn't a hack, but calling it a hack. And of course, at that time, America didn't understand. So I want you to understand that's how the system works, okay? That's how the system works. They will take something and work to make it vulnerable. Now, politics is no different. So what you're about to see, and why I'm telling you this, is we have now found out that the Southern Poverty Law Center was paying people to do these disruptive acts under the name of white supremacy and racism so they could come in and expose it and raise money off of it. You see how the rig works? See how the rig works? That's what they were doing, and they have now been exposed.
We're here today is to announce what the general just told you. The Southern Poverty Law Center, in a massive sweeping indictment, has been charged with allegations of fraud and using the banking system to perpetrate that fraud. I just want to talk about a couple of brief things here. The Southern Poverty Law Center themselves advertise to raise money to dismantle violent extremist groups for a period of at least a decade. They use their donor network to raise money to purportedly dismantle violent extremist groups. However, the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, used the money they raised from their donor network to actually pay the leadership of these very groups. I just want to say that again. They used the fraudulently raised money by lying to their donor network, thousands of Americans, to go ahead and actually pay the leadership of these supposed violent extremist groups. The groups, as the general laid out, include the Ku Klux Klan, the United Klans of America, Unite to Right, National Alliance, the National Socialist Movement, the Aryan Nation Motorcycle Club, and the National Socialist Party of America, and also the American Front. In at least one of these matters, our investigation revealed that funds were used to facilitate the commission of further state and federal offenses, totaling over $3 million. Furthermore, our investigation revealed that the Southern Poverty Law Center, on top of perpetuating this widespread, decade-long, multi-million-dollar fraud, conducted more criminal activity. They attempted to hide their criminal activity from our financial banking network. They set up shell companies and entities around America so that the financial institutions that we rely on as everyday Americans were deceived in believing that money was not coming from the Southern Poverty Law Center in the perpetration of this scheme and fraud, but rather fictitious entities they stood up to perpetuate this ongoing fraud. This is a serious and egregious violation of a group that purported to dismantle violent extremist groups, but in turn actually only fueled the hatred. This is an important case brought by President Trump's administration. We're thankful for the president for his leadership and funding of not just the FBI and DOJ, but his commitment to go out there and wipe out fraud and conspiracy and waste and abuse wherever it occurs, including the Southern Poverty Law Center. Even though this money was made to appear to be coming from legitimate people and legitimate entities, we at the FBI, with our great partners at the Department of Justice and in the state of Alabama, were able to comb through a decade worth of material, a scheme that took a decade to build, so that we were able to follow the money, because money never lies, and they got caught. As the Attorney General said, these charges are varying, they are widespread and wide-ranging, and this investigation is very much ongoing. Today, we're here to announce the charges of the Southern Poverty Law Center, and this investigation and the individuals who are responsible will be brought to justice. Thank you, General.
Now, you need to understand this is a huge deal. This goes right to the heart of exactly how all this dirty money has been used to swing or modify our nation. Now, I want you to understand, when you donated to those defense funds, when you donated to We Caught All the Fraud and Support This, you financed the same thing. How did you do that? In the name of election integrity, and you want it fixed, and somebody tells you, we got it, and we're going to melt prison bars, it funded putting people on the road that travel 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 900 times, that swore to you they were doing it for free, to tell you it's the machines, don't waste your time with audits, don't worry about the voter rolls, etc. This is the standard operating procedure. It is the standard operating procedure. Okay? Now, I also want you to understand how all this came about when it comes to the Southern Poverty Law Center. I'm going to give you the background first so you understand it, and then we're going to kind of go back into time. All of this is a psychological warfare operation. They choose a theme, and they maximize that theme. In order for them to raise money to protect people against racism, they funded and created things that look racist. It's now all coming to light. In order to get you to focus on the machines where all the rules are voluntary and to not do full forensic audits, they brought in unknown people, said they're experts, and then basically put them on the road. It's about 80% truth, 20% bullshit. The 20% bullshit is it's the machine swapped your vote. We have the algorithms. I know you don't understand it. You're too stupid. I'm a PhD. You're not. But here it is. This is how it's financed. Good people wanting to fight racism, because I believe that was an issue, funded this. Good people in election integrity funded crap, and you don't really realize it's working 100% against you because you never audit it. You never asked for results. You never asked for physical proof. Only proof is truth. So the Southern Poverty Law Center came into being in 1971. I was 6. What were you doing in 1971? Now, this was a movement in the South. And basically, it came into being saying Black people can't get jobs, Black people can't get housing, Black people can't get education, and Black people can't get into political power. Oh, by the way, they said Black people then. They said Negroes then, because they hadn't created the title of African American, which divided you from, instead of being a Black person who's an American, they had to divide you from the country and put Africa in there. And it was started by Morris Dees, a lawyer. He was a publishing business. He had a civil rights practice, and he started to he joined forces with a guy by the name of Joe Levin. The first president then was a fellow by the name of Julian Bond. Now, what they would do is they would raise money, and when Black Americans got arrested, and you know it and I know it, there was a bunch of shit that went on at that time. Those were different times. You wouldn't have condoned at all hanging a Black person for the crime of rape when there was not anything to prove they were there. Zero. You wouldn't stand for it, but it was done. Okay? They focused in Alabama first, which Alabama had problems, right? The Democrat Party wanted segregation. The Democrat Party voted against civil rights. The Democrat Party voted against Black Americans being able to vote. Not quite the story you were told, but it's the truth. But at that time, there was, in fact, the Ku Klux Klan. because remember, they got to keep us fighting. And so at that time in Alabama, what they would do is if a person of color, an American of color, got into trouble and it was questionable, they would defend them, because there was no way they were going to let a white attorney in town who was probably hated black people to begin with, because that's just the way they were raised, be represented. So it started out for something good, something noble. Okay? Now, it's raised over time a little over $750 million to do just that, $750 million. However, this organization that built its good name got hijacked. And it got hijacked when it went from the America we have to the America being weaponized. And it became about, let's weaponize it and reform America the way we want, which is the socialist agenda. And that's why they were funding the Socialist Party. You heard it there. And so that's how they started. That's what was going on. And they funded the most horrid of the most horrid, which basically means they would pay. See, because you got to understand, I think most people don't give a freak where you put your mouth or your wiener or your hoo-ha or anything. You know why? Because they know it's not their business. As long as it's not a kid, who gives a crap? Nobody cares what your religion is. We know we have free will. It's not our business. We got past racism. But see, racism started to die, especially when you get a black president, right? It started to go away. And they were worried the money train, the Jesse Jackass, Al Not So Sharp shit. Remember, Al Sharpton did this. They took that little girl, Tawana Brawley, who wanted to go out and bebop with a bunch of guys one night, and her grandmother wouldn't let her, so she snuck out and did it, ended up staying for a few days. So she claimed she was kidnapped. Somebody got her in touch with Al Sharpton before she turned herself in. He grabbed a handload of human crap and spread it all over her face and then paraded her out and said she'd been held captive by a bunch of white guys. That's what brought Al Sharpton, Not So Sharp, into prominence. People don't remember it. So they manufactured crises. So this organization, which started for good things, became something bad. Here's where the money went.
In total, according to the indictment, between 2014 and 2023, SPLC paid at least $3 million to 8 individuals at least. These individuals were affiliated with the Ku Klux Klan, United Klans of America, National Socialist Movement, Aryan Nations affiliated Sadistic Souls Motorcycle Club, the Nationalist Socialist Party of America, Nazis, and the American Front. Now, as the indictment lays out, after SPLC paid members of these extremist groups, it created work product that reported on these activities that the members participated in or contributed to. And to that end, it was doing the exact opposite of what it's told its donors it was doing. Not dismantling extremism, but funding it. To carry out this scheme, SPLC created bank accounts in the name of at least 5 completely fictitious organizations that had no bona fide employees or legitimate business purpose. The money was passed from SPLC to one sham account to a second sham account and then loaded onto prepaid cards to give to the members of the extremist groups. This was designed to shield the source of those funds, and because of this, SPLC is also charged with one count, as I said earlier, of conspiracy to commit money laundering. In conclusion, I want to thank the acting U.S. Attorney in the Middle District of Alabama, Kevin Davidson, who's in his district right now and not able to be with us, for bringing this important case, along with the FBI team in Alabama for their hard work during this investigation. This investigation is ongoing, and I'd like to ask Director Patel to say a few words as well.
You understand how big this is? The formula they gave that the Southern Poverty Law Center is doing is the same formula they do to pay Antifa, BLM, Patriot Front, all of it. It's all 100% a con to create media moments. That's all they need is a media moment. That's it. The media moment that they put out there craps in your cranium, which is why my program is to give you a mental enema, but also raising them money. This is a huge deal because now you have connective tissue from inside the government and grants, USAID, pushing it all the way down to the organization creating false flag events to support an agenda. And the agenda is to destroy our nation. This same operation was run in election integrity. Just like the Dems do this in messaging.
Extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is 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 extremely dangerous to our democracy.
That's why you heard it was the machines. I saw them flip the votes on TV. It was the machines. It was the machines. Melt them to prison bars. And here you just had Virginia fall because of paper. All of those operatives were paid to talk to Virginia lawmakers to stay 100% away from the paper, which would have already stopped this. It has stopped every bit of this. They wouldn't have been able to do it. And everybody says, don't worry, we got it. We got the PCAPs. We've stopped it. And what happened is Virginia lawmakers didn't do anything about the voter rolls. All of it was there. It's the same operation over and over.
So you have a centralized statewide voter roll that's on networked machines, servers. It has a public-facing internet interface. That's it. That's all I need to know that it's blown. That's a centralized statewide voter roll that was mandated by Help America Vote Act. They have these all over the country. And it's not just that you have a public-facing internet interface to it, but multiple organizations have what's called an API, or an application programming interface. In other words, a machine-to-machine interface into that voter roll. And I'm telling you this because when people say, well, we have to clean up the voter rolls, it's true that they're not following the law. It's true that they're not in good faith maintaining them in accordance with Title 52 that requires that the voter rolls be both secure and accurate. That's a requirement imposed on the secretaries of state who've received the Help America Voting Act and CARES Act funding to maintain those voting systems. What nobody's going to tell you, but I'm going to tell you, is you cannot clean those rolls. You're sweeping a dirt floor.
I'll give you a homework assignment, and I'll prove this to you. Go to every single one of those so-called election integrity experts that told every state, there were lawmakers in that room, and they told you, it's not the paper. Don't worry about the voting rolls. Then Scott Pressler came on next. No, you got to vote early. That's the only way to do it because they're going to run out of paper on election day, which you want them to do. All of it. I want you to go to a single person from Scott Pressler down, Colonel Sean Smith, Mark Cook, any of these guys. Try to put together a resume, a bio of who they are. Try to find anything on any of them prior to 2012. You will not find it. And because of all that junk, same stuff, because of all that junk, we now had a very important issue fall in Virginia. This is how it works. And all the time, the media or the people promoting it promote the so-called experts as the saviors. Here's how they did it for the Southern Law Poverty Center.
Close your eyes. Remember what you saw on television. Remember seeing those neo-Nazis and Klansmen and white supremacists coming out of fields with lighted torches. And remember what the...
All paid for. Now proven.
Close your eyes. Remember what you saw on television. Remember seeing those neo-Nazis and Klansmen and white supremacists coming out of fields with lighted torches.
By the way, Southern Poverty Law Center would set up companies and groups They would set up another group under a different name, another group under a different name, and then it'd be this group that did it, but they were the funders. You want to know something interesting in election integrity? You had 6 major election integrity organizations or people. This has this group, this has this group, this has this group, this has this group. All on different names, funded by GOP and Mike Lindell.
Close your eyes. Remember what you saw on television. Remember seeing those neo-Nazis and Klansmen and white supremacists coming out of fields with lighted torches. And remember what the president said when asked?
And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
Their veins bulging.
He said specifically that he was condemning them.
No, he did not. He said he walked out and he said, let's get this straight.
The veins bulging on their, as they were screaming. Remember, just close your eyes and picture what it was.
Their veins bulging.
Their veins bulging. Nazi sympathizers, carrying Nazi fags.
Veins bulging.
It's their veins bulging. Veins bulging.
Veins bulging.
How are you, baby? How old are you? Their veins bulging.
It's their veins bulging. Bulging. Veins.
Well, I'm sick and tired of smart guys.
Their veins they're bulging.
Their veins bulging. Their veins bulging.
Veins is bulging. Bulging.
Fewer.
Have you ever heard this president say one negative thing about white supremacists? Have you ever heard it?
Racism is evil.
Damn it.
And those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as America.
This is how it works. And it works on both sides. The very person that put together the plan, as I understand it, to try to start pushing this 25th Amendment, get rid of Trump during the first administration, was also the person that did the most media. It's the machines, and there are PCAPs, and we did see the vote swap on TV and covered nothing about the election audit. Who was that person? Steve Bannon. Who did they always bring on and put in front? Mike Lindell is the front that it all went through. Those people gave bad advice. Combination of, I believe, a lot of intention to give bad advice and a lot of good people that got sucked into it. But you cannot get convictions for the election stuff on the machines because all of the rules are voluntary. Just so happened that Bannon is Epstein's, what's it called, right? His helper, his whatever, going to clear up his image or whatever. All the same crap. Now, just like you saw that stuff in election integrity, just like you saw that
extremely dangerous to our democracy.
It only takes a few repeating the crap because they repeat the crap and you can move a large audience. Here's how also that con walks. And by the way, another one funded by this kind of mischief.
We need to go into the Capitol. Into the Capitol. What? No! Peacefully. Fed. Tomorrow? I don't even like to say it because I'll be arrested.
Well, let's not say it.
We need to go. I'll say it.
All right.
We need to go in.
Shut the fuck up, Boomer.
To the Capitol.
Base Fed posting? All right. We need to go into the Capitol. I didn't see that coming. Okay.
Monument Hill.
Stop speaking. We are going to the Capitol, where our problems are. It's that direction. Please spread the word.
All right, noted. Okay, but one more thing.
Yeah, so can we go up there? No?
When we go in,
are we going to get arrested if we go up there?
Yeah. You don't need to get
Should
shot.
you arrest us all?
Same thing. Same thing. It's all a con. Even great people, if Mike Lindell was perfectly clean, can get conned into this mess they use you because people get addicted to clicks and fames and interviews. Let me show you one of those people that was masked in the middle of that throng, right? One of the peoples that was masked, covered up in the middle of that throng in that push and didn't go to jail, which is odd.
So you have a centralized statewide voter roll that's on networked machines.
What? What? Check it yourself. This is how the con works, folks. And you don't have to believe my opinions at all. I'm showing you these numbers. You have free will to believe it. It's all the same connective tissue. And by the way, 4 of those top election integrity, quote unquote, experts were in that mess in January 6th, but mysteriously didn't get arrested. But the people they invited there got arrested. Do you think that's a coincidence? I say it's an operation. Here's how lawmakers play with it.
Now, in other times, Democrats and Republicans alike would rely on the Southern Poverty Law Center to help us keep track of the movements of violent white supremacy in the country. The Southern Poverty Law Center has been a vigilant voice in civil society against radical white nationalist violence and extremism, neo-Nazism, and other forces across the political spectrum that spread organized hate from any quarter. The president, however, wants to undermine civil society organizations and to reduce our ability to defend ourselves against the virus of racial violence.
They hold them up as, oh, they're the heroes, they're telling the truth. It happens all the time. And then the very people that are truly calling this out and have been calling it out for a very long time and have been telling you how this works for a very long time, they constantly set them up. They infiltrate the organizations, set them up, and then try to get those people once again embroiled in controversy. Here's one of the people that they've regularly attacked, but was blowing the whistle on this for a very long time.
What advice does Zelensky give to these young leftists? He says, listen, don't have posters because that's the usual leftist claptrap. He says, all of you come dressed as Klansmen. And then when the Republican speaker begins to speak, you just jump up and down and cheer wildly. So that you have created a media event that makes it sound like the Klan loves the Republicans. So here's a classic example of straight out deception, historically invalid, in fact, the opposite of the truth, a big lie if you want to use the term of my new book. But Alinsky had this uncanny ability to realize that you could use the big lie effectively to extract concessions.
You probably might not remember because we forget so much. 2,000 mules was exactly correct. All of these excess ballots were basically, as they got a hold of them, they were filling them out, and that's what operatives were dropping in drop boxes. Well, Dinesh exposed that, right? In 2,000 mules. And then as time goes by, working with True the Vote and everything else, people that stayed away from the full forensic audit would never talk about it, right? When push came to shove, just like Michael Lindell and the PCAPs, well, we never had them, True the Vote, who the information came from, basically said, well, we never told Dinesh that. Did you follow that? Did you know Dinesh got sued for that? Did you follow that Greg and Catherine basically said, well, we never really told Dinesh that. He made that up. Have you followed that? It's all over the place. By the way, Artistic, thank you so very much. Thank you. for supporting our work. God bless you. I'll give you another example of how this is done. I keep on telling you that you have quote unquote election integrity experts that are held up. They do interviews. They're all over. They keep on going into Republican precincts. We're going to teach you. We're going to teach you. We're going to teach you. Ask a question about the forensic audit. Oh, it's a sham. Jovan's a grifter. He has no ethics. It's all a con. Peer reviewed his work when we hadn't even started the audit, and they had nothing. But I peer review his work. It's all a con. It's 100% a con. Now you're actually seeing Candace being turned upside down, right? Candace being turned upside down, even to the point where this Tyler Robinson stuff in court, of course, she turned on President Trump. She was lifted up by Prager University. Given validity, and then outed, whatever it was. I find it ironic that after her time there, Dennis Prager had his accident, fell, broke his neck, and he's paralyzed now from what? The chest down or neck down? I think that's the president of evil that was around him and attacked him to take him out. I'm not mean physically, I mean spiritually. Right? But you actually follow people blindly. See, the system knows that. One person, super godly, Jesus, I know everything about elections and everything about how the grift is done, and I know all the bad actors. Immediately before them becoming a podcaster, let me show you their career.
Look at them. They all seem so happy. It's miserable out here. It's dirty. How can they be happy? Are they? How can there be millions of them but I feel all alone? How can the pimps and the pushers and the snakes, how can they be rewarded? How can they be provided the tools to create this filth, this garbage, to penetrate these young, impressionable minds and ears? Makes me question faith. Some nights I go to bed and go to bed without it. Go to bed alone.
Oh yeah, that's the rapper, also known as Focus. You've never seen Focus before? Do you know who Focus is? By the way, guys, you know, when you support this program, you're supporting election integrity and all the work we do. And I want to say God bless you for every one of you, right? God bless you for doing it. 1 million plus people follow that person, quote unquote, brand new Christian, all in the name of God. Gonna expose it all. The Jews are evil. President Trump's in on it. Tucker Carlson's right. Do you recognize Focus? That's a rapper. And the rapper's handle is Focus. Had you ever heard of the rapper named as Focus before? Any of you? Oh, come on. You never heard of Focus? I find it funny that even Candace was trying her hand at being a rapper. You never heard of Focus? You don't know who Focus is? Oh, come on. Rip hip hop, gonna change the world. People are gonna talk about me. They're gonna sing my name. They're gonna sing my praises. They're gonna make movies about me. Come on, big conservative, telling you they're right. They know everything about government. They know everything about all the operations. Oh, come on. You haven't seen his work?
Make it, Stuart. You're gonna make it. My special boy.
Failure, never made it. My family devastated. A lifetime just wasted. Bitterness has been tasted because I never made it. My family devastated. A lifetime just wasted because I never made it.
No regrets, right? It's just something people say to be nice. Specifically, the ones who dial when you're faded at night. Drunk talk like, come and see me, man, I'll pay for your flight. You gotta hear this new shit I'm on, the video's right. Dog, I've been talking to record labels, investors, promoters, and the future looks real bright for Focus. We're planning on shows in the tropics. I'm talking Grammys and Oscars. Halftime for football and in the ring with them boxers. They're gonna know the name Stuart Peters. From the grassroots music to influence on big screens and movie theaters. I'm finally gonna live that dream. It's worth the thin times I went through to make a difference in these little kids' lives. And then the shock hit me when I opened my eyes. And now I know this whole episode I've been hypnotized. The extinguisher's been deployed.
That's the person giving you the inside information of how the government works and how elections work and how the Jews are bad. It's common denominator of some of these people they raised up. But he told you people would say his name and people would watch him. He just did it as a newfound Christian and a quote-unquote conservative broadcaster. I just asked, don't you find that odd? Because I asked this question, where did these people come from? And you take that as news. That's what's called a wigger, trying to play he's black. That was going to be his fame, but kind of found another way to do it when all of a sudden it hits and now he's holier than thou. That's it. I'm going to tell you how it is. I'm a newscaster. Are you right? And then you're watching, he built all that, talking about election, talking about stuff, and then all of a sudden, boom, flip. What? Boom. It's the Jews. It's a plan. Trump's in on it. Tucker's right. Candace is right. Now, half of them are trying to get clicks because they see that clickbait's working. They don't care. It's a ride to fame. They see those numbers. I'm a ride to fame. I'm making more money than I made. Hell, I only made 50 cents as a rapper. Now I can make 50 grand a month as a podcaster, filling your head full of shit. Again, this has always been exposed.
There are dangerous hate groups in America. Who will warn us about them? The media tell us.
The Southern Poverty Law Center. The Southern Poverty Law Center.
The Southern Poverty Law Center, based in that building in Alabama, calls itself the premier group monitoring hate groups and other extremists. Looking at their map of hate groups, you'd think hate groups were everywhere. I once believed what the center said. Well-meaning people still do. Apple gave them $1 million. But what donors don't know is that today the center smears good people.
The presence of radical Islam.
This Somalian woman speaks out against radical Islam. For that, the center put her on its list.
Join the fight against hate and bigotry.
Visit SPLcenter.org.
I do think that we have a problem with hate in this country.
We put about 10 of these major hate groups out of business.
When I first investigated the center, its leaders wouldn't talk to me. So liberal commentator Nomiki Kantz defended them.
They have a long history of fighting against extremists like the KKK.
History, yes, but they labeled skeptical Muslims like Ayaan Hirsi Ali as haters.
If you have a horrible experience with religion, that's one thing. It's another thing to use those experiences as ammunition against others who are practicing their religion peacefully.
But they're just speaking, criticizing it.
Of course she has the right to free speech, as does the Southern Poverty Law Center has a right to push back.
We can stand together against hate.
The center also calls the Family Research Council a hate group.
The definition of a marriage is what it's been for 5,000 years. It's the union of a man and a woman.
I often disagree with the council myself, but do they belong on this hate map?
When they don't agree with you politically, they're going to list you as a hater.
You are haters. You hate gays.
No, I don't hate gay people, and I know gay people, and I have worked with gay people.
But once you become a hate group, you're a target.
Developing now, word of a shooting at the Family Research Council there in Washington.
One man was so enraged by what the Southern Poverty Law Center said about the Family Research Council, he went to their headquarters to kill people.
A man shot a security guard in the arm.
Fortunately, that guard stopped the man before he could shoot anyone else.
He told the judge that he was there to kill as many of us as possible because we were a hate group.
The center also smears the Ruth Institute, a Christian group that believes gays should not have an equal right to adopt children. They're not haters.
I like gay people. I have no problem with gay people. That's not the issue. The issue is, what are we doing with kids and the definition of who counts as a parent? There could be cases where the best person for a particular child would be their Uncle Harry and his boyfriend. You know, that could be. But we owe it to the children to give them the best we can, which generally is a married mother and father.
So you're a hater. When the Southern Poverty Law Center put the Ruth Institute on its hate map, the Institute's bank cut them off.
We've determined that you're an organization that promotes hate, violence, harassment, and so therefore we're not doing business with you.
The Ruth Institute and the Family Research Council are still on the hate list.
There's no appeal, and I sure don't know how you get off.
I suspect the center keeps its hate list long because that brings in lots of money.
Morris Dees' salary is more than my entire annual budget. So yeah, whatever they're doing, it pays.
It sure does. Years ago, Harper's Magazine reported that the center was the richest civil rights group in America, one that spends most of its time and money trying to make more money. They promised to stop fundraising once their endowment reached $55 million. But when they reached $55 million, they changed that to $100 million, saying that would allow them to cease costly fundraising. But when they reached $100 million, they didn't stop. They collected $200 million. Then $400 million. Now they've got $730 million. Yet they still smear people to raise more money.
Much of which is in offshore accounts, Caymans and places like that.
How do you know?
Oh, we look at their 990s.
And it says Cayman Islands?
Yeah.
Now the Southern Poverty Law Center calls groups that simply oppose sexually explicit content in schools anti-government extremists. Moms for Liberty and Moms for America are on the hate map because they dare do things like seek school board seats to try to stop districts from disregarding opinions of parents. Give me a break. The center puts them on the hate map, but not Antifa, the hate group that beats up people on the right. The center's become a hate group itself. It's now a left-wing, money-grabbing slander machine.
John Stossel does such a great job. I love his work. I'm going to show you one final one real quick before we depart. But remember, I am headed over. And by the way, what we're doing is we're talking about Kash crashes the law center. And then we're going to talk about real quick before I wrap, as your definition of patriot changed. But right after this, I'm going to go to locals. I'm going to read the indictment to you so you know what it is. But I'll kind of tell you, and they're paid to spread lies. They create the controversy, right, that they say they're defending against, but because it really doesn't exist in scale in any way, they've got to manufacture it. I'll tell you another thing, and if you've got your auditing shoes on, you can go back to one of the so-called election integrity experts, right? Raised to power, people following, public offering, going to run for governor, all this other stuff, and you can follow things. It's very interesting. When you first learned of me back in 2020, you learned that basically what I do in intellectual property is I use patterns and trends over the years to understand what new patterns go. So I get introduced as a pattern recognition expert. You go back in this one person's career, and all of a sudden they go from a pastor, a used car salesman, to a pastor. Then they're doing this stuff all as a pastor. And then all of a sudden they appear in a documentary and they tell you, I'm a pattern recognition expert. And then when people started really digging into the fact that I have all these patents all around the world and I built a large tech company and a large tech concerns, all of a sudden that person morphed into, I'm a tech CEO. I built all this great technology, which you can't verify. And you'll notice today that they've been going through it. They now wear the exact same glasses I do. Isn't that interesting? A lot of pre-packaging going on. But I got a sharp stick out of it. Anyway, let me show you one of the people that they attacked that started calling this out. I believe it's somebody you can believe in. But how about this Southern Poverty Law Center?
The Southern Poverty Law Center has now labeled, you're in the club with me, by the way, they've labeled Turning Point as a hate group.
Yes, it's a
coming
surprise,
from a hateful group like
it's
them.
surprised it took them so long to get us on the list.
What took you so long, Charlie?
Understand that they're literally putting high school chapters of ours on a hate group next to the KKK and next to neo-Nazi groups. And I mean, we can laugh this off. There's an element to this. Remember that there was a shooter that went to the Family Research Council years ago, inspired by the SPLC list. This is them trying to make us basically surrender at Turning Point USA. We're going to do the opposite, and our students are only going to lean in even more. But they can't debate us on our ideas. They cannot have dialogue. They cannot actually go onto the merits of why they are right or why we might be wrong. Instead, they must smear us with the age-old one-liner that you are a racist or that you are a hater. And they're finally realizing the power of Turning Point USA, which is why they put us on this list.
Well, when you're effective, you're a threat, right?
That's
so they call me the high priestess of hate, right, Sam? Is that what they call me? I'm just...
Congratulations.
2008. Oh, it's old. It's so old. But again, the Democrats, I think they appeal to a certain very whiny man.
That's right.
It's like the pajama boy, whatever they're calling him.
You remember that Obamacare advertisement?
I never forgot that guy.
It was the archetype of the liberal
what they
man.
think a man
yes,
is.
That's right. Never standing up for yourself, very feelings-based, no assertion, no drive, no grit. Almost always pandering to the zeitgeist of the times, where it turns out, especially in the heartland of this country, the American man is still alive and he wants his country back. And they showed up in record numbers for President Trump, and they're rejecting the Democrat Party. They're the backbone class of this country. They make the country work. They're largely forgotten. And the Democrats spending $20 million on video game advertisements.
Let them spend the money.
Let them burn that. By the way, if they think that's what it's actually going to take to win back young men, maybe you need a message and a messenger that they can relate to.
And so that's why I told you Kash crashes the law center and has your definition of a patriot changed. I think the one person that you could truly trust out there, which is why they assassinated him, is Charlie Kirk, telling you the truth and fighting with facts. You know it, I know it. And so what has come down is the Southern Poverty Law Center has now been 100% confirmed and indicted for paying to create hate, so they have a story so they can say they're defending hate. It's all a con job. Right after this program, if you're on Rumble, you're going to click the red join. Watch the ending of the program. And yes, there is no poverty in the Southern Poverty Law Center. I am going to read to you the indictment, right? Here's just a quick recap, then we're going to talk about Patriot.
In total, according to the indictment, between 2014 and 2023, SPLC paid at least $3 million to 8 individuals at least. These individuals were affiliated with the Ku Klux Klan, United Klans of America, National Socialist Movement, Aryan Nations affiliated Sadistic Souls Motorcycle Club, the Nationalist Socialist Party of America, Nazis, and the American Front. Now, as the indictment lays out, after SPLC paid members of these extremist groups, it created work product that reported on these activities that the members participated in or contributed to. And to that end, it was doing the exact opposite of what it's told its donors it was doing. Not dismantling extremism, but funding it. To carry out this scheme, SPLC created bank accounts in the name of at least 5 completely fictitious organizations that had no bona fide employees or legitimate business purpose. The money was passed from SPLC to one sham account to a second sham account and then loaded onto prepaid cards to give to the members of the extremist groups. This was designed to shield the source of those funds, and because of this, SPLC is also charged with one count, as I said earlier, of conspiracy to commit money laundering. In conclusion, I want to thank the acting U.S. Attorney in the Middle District of Alabama, Kevin Davidson, who's in his district right now and not able to be with us, for bringing this important case, along with the FBI team in Alabama for their hard work during this investigation.
What we're here today is to announce what the general just told you. The Southern Poverty Law Center, in a massive, sweeping indictment, has been charged with allegations of fraud and using the banking system to perpetrate that fraud. I just want to talk about a couple of brief things here. The Southern Poverty Law Center themselves advertise to raise money to dismantle violent extremist groups for a period of at least a decade. They use their donor network to raise money to purportedly dismantle violent extremist groups. However, the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, used the money they raised from their donor network to actually pay the leadership of these very groups. I just want to say that again. They used the fraudulently raised money by lying to their donor network, thousands of Americans, to go ahead and actually pay the leadership of these supposed violent extremist groups. The groups, as the general laid out, include the Ku Klux Klan, the United Klans of America, Unite to Right, National Alliance, the National Socialist Movement, the Aryan Nation Motorcycle Club, and the National Socialist Party of America, and also the American Front. In at least one of these matters, our investigation revealed that funds were used to facilitate the commission of further state and federal offenses, totaling over $3 million. Furthermore, our investigation revealed that the Southern Poverty Law Center, on top of perpetuating this widespread, decade-long, multi-million-dollar fraud, conducted more criminal activity. They attempted to hide their criminal activity from our financial banking network. They set up shell companies and entities around America so that the financial institutions that we rely on as everyday Americans were deceived in believing that money was not coming from the Southern Poverty Law Center in the perpetration of this scheme and fraud, but rather fictitious entities they stood up to perpetuate this ongoing fraud. This is a serious and egregious violation of a group that purported to dismantle violent extremist groups, but in turn actually only fueled the hatred. This is an important case brought by President Trump's administration. We're thankful to the president for his leadership and funding of not just the FBI and DOJ, but his commitment to go out there and wipe out fraud and conspiracy and waste and abuse wherever it occurs, including the Southern Poverty Law Center. Even though this money was made to appear to be coming from legitimate people and legitimate entities, we at the FBI, with our great partners at the Department of Justice and in the state of Alabama, were able to comb through a decade worth of material, a scheme that took a decade to build, so that we were able to follow the money, because money never lies, and they got caught. As the Attorney General said, these charges are varying, they are widespread and wide-ranging, and this investigation is very much ongoing. Today we're here to announce the charges of the Southern Poverty Law Center, and this investigation and the individuals who are responsible will be brought to justice. Thank you, General.
This is a big deal. This one may be the tipping point that really perfects the legal model of indicting these organizations. This goes on everywhere, folks. And that's why the second part of it is I'm asking you, has your definition of a patriot changed? It's an honest question. Has your definition, since all of this started in 2020, it started before that, but I'm saying when it came to prominence in 2020, has your definition of a patriot changed? Yes or no? Be honest. Do you think your definition of a patriot has changed? By the way, Crystal, thank you so very much. Remember, it is truth only if you have proof. Okay, some people say no. Some people may say yes. I'm going to give you just my personal opinion. I speak of things where I can bring the proof to the table, show you what the truth really is, and show you what happens and why it happens and how it's done. My job is to make you the smartest patriot in the room. And I believe if you don't understand how the system does it to you, you cannot push back on it. Now, all I'll get for telling you this truth is they'll call me fraud, grifter, fake, blah, blah, blah. That's all they got. They have nothing else. That's why they won't face me. But I want to tell you, I have now written the word patriot out of my vocabulary. Now, I want you to hear me out on this. The number one cause of atheism in the United States is Christianity, because there are so many people that call themselves Christians that aren't, and still act like idiots and use it as a badge of honor that, hey, here's my cross on the outside. That's only packaging and showmanship. I've written off the word racism. I think it's junk. It's total crap. I've written off the word Republican and Democrat. You're either for America or against America. I would have called myself a Republican prior to what happened in 2020. Now I think it's a dirty word, just as bad as pedophile. I'm just telling you honestly, this is for me, because I see through it. I'm also telling you the newest word in my vocabulary that I think is a dirty word, overused and total bullshit, is patriot. See, the patriot that fought for our country, fought for our fucking country and put their life on the line. They could not be bought off. They didn't change their views because of polls and trends. They didn't change their views for clicks. And they certainly didn't think they were going to become superheroes or stars throughout history. They fought for their nation. I have a very hard time now when I see somebody having to put patriot in their handle, that they're trying hard to convince you they're a patriot. When if you audited what they're teaching, and you really audit it, you will find it's destructive. And they're going along with the narrative. You're not a patriot because you tell somebody you're a patriot. You're a patriot because you act like it, you have the same standards, and you don't do anything to compromise this nation, especially going along with the narrative because it's what somebody wants you to do, or because you think that's what will get you more clicks and make you more money. As far as for me, you won't find me use that word anymore. I'm really kind of a stickler on this. I'll give you an example. Even though I did not like Obama and I knew Obama was bad, you can go back and audit me. During his presidential terms, what I did as my protest is I just never uttered his name. Now, why did I never utter his name? Because the position of presidency, I still have incredible respect for, and you've got to respect the office. So for me, I have a hard time now with so many people swearing they're patriots. Swearing they are patriots. But when you get them behind closed doors or you really find out what's going on, they are so far from the truth because they allow themselves to be manipulated. They allow themselves to be bought into an agenda. I think when somebody tells you they're broke and they're doing this out of the kindness of the heart and somehow they travel to 900 cities and you don't do the math to try to figure out where the money came from, you're being caught in a trap. Why did, quote unquote, GOP, and you saw it, you watched it here, President Trump came out and used the term bank your ballot. I immediately reversed that. President Trump, you can't do that. Here's why. Here's what it really means. You saw the president, cut it off. Never say it again. But you can see the GOP put up something like Scott Plessler. Why? Because he had a lot of numbers. People thought his hair was cool, and he's great. And he's great. Tell you, Don't you dare vote on election day. You got to vote by mail-in ballot. Bank your ballot. Complete opposite odds of what you know to be true. And that's the problem with America is we don't audit who we follow. Nobody's perfect. Nobody is perfect. Everybody you can find things to bitch about. But if you look at them as where are they leading America and what are they fighting for and what is the proof of their truth? If all of a sudden you can't see and find proof, all you have left is words. I want to let you know there's only one you can trust based exclusively on words. There's only one you can trust based exclusively on words and hearing their words. And who is that? God. That's it. That's the only one that has authority on words. Period. Now, you should try to adopt that and live that so your words match the same. That's what you should try to meet, that your words are truth. But absent that, you can't speak for other people. You can lay it all on the line, but you better be able to show proof to make it truth. We are caught in a warfare, and I have told you since 2020, the enemy is the system and the GOP. I have less respect for the GOP than I have for Democrats. I'm going to tell you why, and I know the Democrats are bad, but the Democrats will tell you, we're going to screw your kids, your toddlers. We're going to make it law. The GOP will tell you, we're going to protect your toddlers and don't do shit. And that's a lie. And that's worse because you want to believe them because you believe they're like you. But you can't ferret the proof. You're watching this war go on right now. It's going to get worse. I'm telling you, it's going to heat up so ridiculous, it's nuts. And when you see Tucker in on this, I've now written Tucker off. I thought Candace was cute. Boy, I'd love an hour with her just to play. But outside that, forget it. I'm just telling you the truth. All these people turning, there's people in it that are in it for political gain. They're never going to call a hard truth, but they're going to keep on being out there because they want to write it to something else. Let me tell you, showing people the truth, telling people the truth, you know what it gets you? Hated. Because the truth hurts. And people rather believe somebody else is going to cover their ass because it relinquishes them from being the cure and covering your own ass. But you're responsible for it. But then you have free will. So I'm just letting you know. I'm just letting you know. I put no more value in the word patriot if you cannot be audited more than just words or a label. And you can't turn around and say, I watched the vote swap on TV and do no homework and not understand that is not even certified data in any way, but you spit it out as truth. That is deceiving this country. Following somebody blindly for them to fix elections, like the fiasco we had with Mike Lindell and PCAPs, and then you get to donate your ass off, get to court, find out he has to admit in court he never had it, but then you got one of his cohorts, Lone Raccoon, saying, yeah, I met with Dennis Montgomery, I audited it all. It's the greatest stuff I've seen. He's the smartest man in the world I've ever met besides myself. Who fucking says something as stupid as that? Swears they saw it, but yet you still follow. You've got to make hard choices if we're going to win this war. How about this? Stop liking everybody, including me. Start demanding proof of people's truth. If a lumberjack and a Taco Bell worker tell you, here's how the election was rigged, ask them, how did you test that? How did you verify that? What they'll say is, I saw it on somebody else's posting. It's trending. I'm talking about the same thing. Well, that's what news mimics, and they're being used. Folks, we're at war. And you got to understand how this war is fought. I'm headed over to locals next. I'm going to read you this indictment because you need to understand it. You'll see a link pop up, okay? You'll see a link pop up that will direct you over there. Let me read this indictment. We'll have some more to discuss. I'll see you there. I love you all. Share this program.
Fight for free and fair elections. Invent and scan the ballots of kinematic artifact detection. You love to read and learn, travel and explore. You're a fearless, braveheart patriot who's opened doors. You are courage, you're our voice. Jovan, we thank you for what you're fighting for. You're our warrior. You are brave like a lion. You're David fighting Goliath, couldn't ask for more. You're our warrior. Think of what you've done for you, for me, for our country. You'll go down in history as our warrior. You lead by God and always do what's right in the battle for our nation. You lead the fight. We pray for your safety, the armor of God to protect you from all of us. Here's a thank you for all that you do. You are courage, you're our voice. Jovan, we thank you for what you're fighting for. You're our warrior. You are brave like a lion. You're David fighting Goliath, couldn't ask for more. You're our warrior. Think of what you've done for you, for me, for our country. You'll go down in history as our warrior. Jovan, you're a hero we stand behind. We're inspired by the fire inside your eyes. American proud, we know you'll fight till your dying day. And we'll always stand behind you through everything. You are courage, you're our voice. Jovan, we thank you for what you're fighting for. You're our warrior. You are brave like a lion. You're David fighting Goliath, couldn't ask for more. You're our warrior. Think of what you've done for you, for me, for our country. You'll go down in history as our warrior.